Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Activities Committee. Today, January the 8th, 2024, 12 p.m., Charlottetown Council Chambers. You have the agenda in front of you. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Before I do, I'd like to welcome Tracy Stevenson, our new program coordinator. Welcome, Tracy. Wish you the very best of luck. Declarations of conflict of interest.
None.
Approval of agenda.
Good.
Adoption of minutes.
Good.
Business arising from the minutes.
None.
Okay. Business arising from the minutes. A, update on Victoria Park active transportation pathway.
All right, thank you, Chair Twill. So I just wanted to put it on the agenda since it was discussed at our meeting in November, I believe it was. So I have been in discussion with Public Works, Scott Adams. So we are going to be bringing a presentation to both committees on the proposed plan for the AT conversion of the roadway to an AT pathway along there. So we'll be in late January, early February, we'll bring that proposal to both committees so both committees can see what we're proposing. And we are looking into it in the short term because I think that is on the Public Works capital budget plan to do in the next couple of years or maybe sooner. But we will bring that forward for councils, the two committees to view, and then we'll go from there. And in the short term, we'll look at, is it something we can actually keep open year round, like after this winter?
Frank, I know we're talking about a long-term plan. There has to be infrastructure enhancement improvements, but I think what the council was looking for was what can we do in the interim? Like there must be some measures that could be put in place to have the continuation of the active transportation pathway so people can enjoy that, for example, this winter. So we're not just looking at the long term and cost implications for example, the replacement of the lights and other enhancements that have to be made. We're looking to see what we can do in the interim as well.
So Chair Twill, so we weren't able to do it this year, like this upcoming winter. It was brought up in, I think, November, December. We just weren't able to put that in place. But when it reopens in the spring, we're looking at, okay, in the short term, can we keep this open year round until the actual redesign of the whole roadway and pathway is done? But like we weren't able to get it in place this winter. There's a number of items we have to look into and collect information on. But we are looking at it in the, once we open in the spring, can we keep it open into the fall, winter of next year? But this year was just, the turnaround was not possible. And that's in the interim while we're reviewing the actual capital upgrades to that whole roadway and making it into a more permanent active transportation pathway.
So the steps that are taken during the summer months, for example, the planters and all those other things that prevents the traffic from traveling through, can we not utilize same mechanisms, same strategies that we have in place during the summer months and late spring and early fall? Can we not utilize those same measures on an interim basis?
So what the issue and the concern is that we need to be able to have something that opens up to remove snow. So you can't just push your snow or to that planter and then try to work it around it. And then also, so that's part of the issue. We need to have something that's, say, a gate that would be able to be opened, be able to remove the snow and then close it so cars couldn't come down through it. It's just not as simple of putting in sort of your, as I refer to, summer infrastructure that, doesn't need to be plowed around and whatnot. So it was just deemed that wouldn't be, it wouldn't allow us to keep the trail or keep the pathway cleared of snow and open to, it's just, it's too difficult. You have a planter there that could be covered by snow in the wintertime, so. So we are looking at it for next year and what do we need to put in place, what type of temporary infrastructure. But it's very likely going to be more like gates that we have, for example, the pathway that goes up between the park, the main pathway through there, that we have gates in place to allow us to open and close so we can remove snow. Yeah, I did look into it, Chair Tweel, but it was just discussion with Public Works and discussing with our park staff. It was just going to be impossible to put into place this winter.
Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair, I did send you the email from Minister Rob Lance. It was sent to us last week, and I just emailed it to Councillors Bernard and Mattard. So there's been a process involved with this land because it's owned by the province of Prince Edward Island and it's part of the Victoria Parkland. So it came from Sharon Sluan-White, so she's the new manager of properties. So has made it quite clear if the city. No, this is the one that Frank is referring to that was sent to us.
No, Your Worship, I'm referring to the Victoria Park Active Transportation Pathway. So this is a...
Yeah, we're talking the inside around Victoria Park. We're not talking about...
Yeah. It's, but again, I know it's in the budget, Frank, for this year. I just want to make sure that it gets done this year. At least that'll be part of the puzzle of what we're trying to do here. So again, that's just to make that point, Mr. Chair, that,
Yeah,
I know you're looking at the bigger
Yeah.
project, but we do have some shortcuts that we have to take. We've done them around the city and other parts of the city with
Yeah, I know, but
active
I
transportation
wasn't...
pathways.
that- What we got here right now is the active park pathway around Victoria Park. And then there's a longer term goal as well for having a pathway down Fox Drive, then all the ways down Brighton Road. There's a longer term plan there too. Hopefully we can get a conceptual design out to the public and get a reaction and get that information out to the,
But the start of that, Mr. Chair, is that connection between Brighton Road and Terry Fox Drive that
Yeah.
and I know the councillor from the area, Norman Beck, wants to see this done too. So that's the start. So let's
Yeah, I know.
get that start done. Thanks.
No, but we're primarily talking about the Victoria Park pathway, and a lot of residents would like to see that closed off. So Frank,
So-
just want to go a little farther, if you don't mind. So in your discussions with, I take it from Scott Adams, there's just no way that we can do anything on a temporary measures and temporary interim measures to stop the traffic and be able to effectively do snow clearing, again, on an interim basis. There's just no way that can be done.
Chair Tweel, not with the short time, right? Like, we need to do our necessary planning and organizing so that we have something in place that we can actually manage. And that's the reason why once we open it next year, we're going to look at what things we need to put in place so we can have it removed, snow removal in the wintertime. In the interim, until we actually have a permanent structure, the pathway that goes around the park, if council decides to proceed with that plan. With regards to his worship's comment on the shortcut pathway, that is another project. So I just don't want to confuse people.
No,
That is another
I'm not
project.
confused.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that.
No,
that
others.
is part of,
Yeah.
I'm looking through our minutes, our package.
Yeah.
I don't see the full in-depth addressing this issue. I'm looking through my minutes and I just see the youth engagement, the capital budget, and so forth. I just want to make sure that this shortcut we've been talking about for a number of years, that we get it done this year. Like, we've done many other active transportation pathways around the city, so this is one that's been asked since Councillor Beck was elected and when I was elected in 2018. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Your Worship, it will be covered under capital budget. It is under the capital budget list, so it will be covered under there. We will be discussing it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Item B, update on area between Joe Gibbs Park and Park Street. I think Councilor Matart, you'd have a tremendous interest in this particular topic, but Frank, if you could lead off, please.
Thank you, Chair Twill. So yes, with regards to it was on our meetings from the last meeting that there was work being done there, and I'm happy to report that a majority of the trees were removed in that location. There were some rough grading done, but it hasn't been fully graded yet. There has been an actual some fence realignment has been done in a certain area to allow, but there will be more fencing work done. But the area has improved greatly from what it was before with down trees and debris and stuff that was in there. So it is moving along. When next spring comes along, we hope to do more work in that location.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, that's correct, Frank. I appreciate that. Certainly opened up that area immensely from what was there before with all the fallen trees and the fence. So acknowledging, yes, that there is some rough grading and some more fencing that needs to be completed there, but understanding we're winter's upon us now, so I doubt that work will be completed until the spring. So again, thank you to your efforts for ensuring that work got done and working with the other departments within the city. Look forward to seeing how that all comes out at the end. Thank you.
You're okay with
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Matart. Yeah, and it did involve multiple departments. Environment, sustainability was involved through Morgan Lafferty, and then worked closely with Public Works, Scott Adams, and then also was working with the province as well. So it was NCADC, so it was across departmental and external organizations working on this project. Thanks.
So to the chair, what I asked of the city to rectify some situations in there, I feel confident that has been addressed and continues to be addressed, in the spring there with some of the fine tuning of the additional fence that's down and the grading of the land there.
Okay, I just have one question. I was asked the question, Frank, were any healthy trees taken down?
As far as I know, there was not. A lot of the trees were poplar trees that were damaged and laying on top of each other, so they assessed them all, and that's the reason why we had environmental sustainability involved, assessing the trees and see what had to be removed. They were all trees that were down. It was just it was a mess of trees every which direction, so no. And we had a branch manager, the company was hired to come in, so they assessed and removed as deemed necessary.
Okay. Again, Councilor Matart, any other discrepancies or anything else that needs to be addressed there?
To the chair, not on that particular piece of work, no.
Okay.
I'm happy with
And I can
how
add,
Ernst has addressed that.
I can add just from our committee, that the trees were all down. They were huge trees, all piled one on top of another. It was a big mess. It was good to see it cleaned up. They've done a really good job cleaning it all up, but there's no healthy trees taken down. They're all trees that come down through Fiona.
Thank you, Frank, and maybe you can send a thank you to all the departments that were involved with this challenging process. Reports. Provide an update, a list of the outdoor rinks for 2024. Frank?
All right, I'm just going to wait for DL to bring it up on the site there.
Okay. Jeez, just before you start, next time, I got the list here in front of me.
I printed off the other one there.
On the big screen.
Oh, Oh, for this?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have that. That's just
Yeah.
on the screen.
Yeah.
This is, I made a bigger copy.
Oh.
That's there.
And that's for the outdoor rinks?
Nope, that's for the budget.
Outdoor rinks
Yeah.
on the screen.
So the outdoor rinks there right now, Chair Twill, is online, so
Okay.
that's the most up-to-date information, so I wanted to present that. And
Okay, yeah, please, Frank, go ahead, sorry.
so yeah, so an update on our 2024 outdoor rinks. As you probably have noticed, the weather has been decent, so we've been able to get Founders Hall up and going. It opened on January 4th, and there were some challenges at the start of getting that up and going because of the weather being so mild, no frost in the ground and whatnot. And then we were doing maintenance, because there was no frost, it was hard to get the ice thick enough to drive equipment on. But it did open on January 4th, which was great to hear. Staff ended up, when they come back from the New Year's holidays, they started working on an additional rinks, and you'll see on the list the other 5 outdoor rinks that they started working on. So the Gordy Griffin rink, it officially opened today. They're still building ice on it. There were people on it, I believe, yesterday and possibly even Saturday, but I know yesterday I was out. All the keen people. It was actually in pretty good shape. I drove by that yesterday myself. The West Royalty Community Center outdoor rink, it officially opened today, but they're still building ice on it. So even though it's open, they still need to build up the base. So if we get melts and thaws, the ice will stay. The Winslow Lions Club, which is a new partnership this year, it officially opened today as well. They're still building ice on it, and we're working out the arrangement with Winslow. They're going to be doing some snow removal, some additional flooding throughout the season, and we're going to be doing some conditioning, but we're still working out those details. But that's great to see those additional 3 rinks open. So right now we have 4 that are open. And with regards to the Elmer McFadgen and the Mulberry Park, we're continuing to build the ice on those ones. And the Elmer McFadgen doesn't have a very good base right now. The asphalt's broken up. It's an older facility, so it's taken a little longer. And the Mulberry one, it's a new one, but the fact the asphalt hasn't been painted yet because we ran out of time at the end of the year. So it's just the asphalt. It's a little doesn't freeze as quickly. So they're continuing to work on those 2 facilities, and hopefully they'll be open later on in the week, even though Wednesday's not looking great for weather. Just to let people know that when we're building these outdoor rinks, the optimal weather is -6 degrees that we need consistently. And if you have warm-ups, you have sun during the day, that does slow down the ice building, and then the ability to do maintenance on it as well. So those are the rinks, the 6 rinks that we're proposing to do for this upcoming year. And this will enable us to do a better job of building the ice, snow removal, flooding, conditioning, and et cetera. As you realize the challenges we've been facing with weather the last number of years, this impacts our ability to get rinks up and going, and then to perform the necessary maintenance. And I'll use, for example, in 2003, the only rink we had up and going officially, at the 10 that were on our list, was Founders Hall. That was the only one that was officially open. So we want to create realistic expectations here, and we feel these facilities all have the necessary infrastructure to allow us to, construct the outdoor rinks and maintain them at a better level. So I guess what this means is we're saying that we're not going to move forward with the other 4 outdoor rinks that were on the list last year. Partly in part that they don't have the necessary infrastructure, they're snow-based, and our weather is just not allowing us to do it. It takes away time from the other outdoor rinks, and then you end up having less outdoor rinks at all. And we want to try it this year and see how it works, and if we can maintain a better quality and have ice that's open to the public to use more often, we think it'll be well received. So I just wanted to give that heads up to you, to the council, and sort of get your comment feedbacks on it.
Thank you. I do agree. I know how much work and effort went in last year. You just get the thing, you think you get it up and ready, and the kids are ready to go on it, and then you have 2 or 3 days of thaw, which is why I'm pushing for the artificial ice surfaces if we could start them. But it was pretty nice to see the kids playing on it this weekend, I have to say. Just wondering, Frank, I'm seeing here the recreation skating only daily from 1 to 3, 6 to 7, which is great. Are the signs up for all the rinks to notify that when the skating only is? I know we used to have it at Gordy Griffin last couple of years. I'm not sure if it's been put back up.
They should be back in place, but I'll remind staff, I'm sure that our staff are on top of it, because I know I did see it at a couple rinks, so I'll make sure that it's in at all the locations. And part of the reason why we're doing that is we find that there is a lot of people that want to go on and play hockey, and there's other people that want to do recreational skating that are not comfortable, so we designated a few times that are set aside for recreational skating only. It doesn't mean they can't do recreational skating other times, it's just there could be people on there playing hockey.
No, and I think what we used to say was no pucks on the ice during those times. Because, I mean, you're right, there's people that do want to have some skating, they never get an opportunity, unless you have those pucks off the ice during those times. So is there any, I know out of Gordy Griffin, we have some staff there that are able to monitor that. Is there people able to monitor it at the other rinks?
It's the honor system. We just don't have the capacity. So people, for the most part, people have been very reasonable and will get a call and whatnot. So we just remind with PSAs and whatnot. But for the most part, people are very respectful.
Okay, so all the more reason we need to get the signage up if it's not up.
Yes, and for example, the one that we have have recreational skating only is Founders Hall, and it's due to its proximity to other buildings. If there's a little kid skating around with a stick and a puck on the stick, just skating around with it, not doing anything with it,
No, there's no.
People
more
won't have an
restriction.
issue.
You're not going to get a whole lot of kids playing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so.
no, that's fine. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, just want to confirm I understand correctly through to the manager. So you're saying that there will not be any, I guess, non-structured ice surfaces implemented throughout the city this year? So I got those snow-based ones, I guess we'll call them snow-based versus structural? Is that correct? Did I hear that correct?
So that is what we are proposing this year, and it's because of the fact we haven't been able, last year, we weren't able to get any of those snow-based rinks even started at all. And it's partly because we haven't, even right now, we don't have the necessarily snow base. And it's just the weather has been changing so much, so we want to sort of focus on doing a good job on these six outdoor rinks, and, keep them maintained to the best of our ability, in with the weather and whatnot, because it's still challenges. You can have snowstorms, melts, those kind of things. If you end up taking time away from those to start another outdoor rink, and then you can't focus on those other ones. So that's where we're proposing
I just
this
see
year.
the value in those being, they're great, smaller satellite locations for young families who, a lot of these rinks, and I've been at some of these myself, and they do get monopolized quite heavily by kids playing hockey and stuff, which is wonderful. I have no issue with that. However, it doesn't lend necessarily for these times. I heard you say a few minutes ago, it's an honor system to have recreational skating between 1 and 3 and nobody monitoring that at Gordy Griffin, for instance, or 6 to 7. So really, it takes away from that. I know there was one in a park handy to my residence, and it was widely used by a number of very small families who could pull in there and just, teach kids how to skate and not be worried about being interfering with hockey games or kids, skating at 100 miles an hour around the rink. But anyways, I'm not sure I fully agree with, I understand that there's challenges with weather, but that's assuming that there's no snow. We could get 30 centimeters of snow tomorrow and a cold snap for the next 3 months. So I think, it's something that, maybe look to see how on a case-by-case basis and what they look like. And then, in the future, if we're going to a more sustainable model of a number of outdoor complexes that are structurally sound, then that's fair. But, we only have, there's 6 of them here, I guess 5 of them are ours and 1 we're in partnership with. But I do think there is some value in some of these smaller, non-traditional kind of snow-based ones. But I get where you're coming from with the challenges around maintaining them and having them sustained throughout the year. But I don't think it's something I'd be willing to say off the table completely at this point, but just wanted to make that noted.
And Councillor Matarti, and I don't disagree, there is value to them. We're just trying to be realistic in what we're putting out there, because, putting 10 rinks on a list and we only get to, the top 4 or 5 or 6. So we feel that we can do this because there is necessary infrastructure. There is also even more work for those other facilities because they are larger, snow removal, the board system and whatnot, so it takes a lot of maintenance. If the winter was perfect and we had, great cold temperatures, we're just not seeing that. Even when I look at the forecast out there, yes, they're calling for some more snow, but they're also calling for milder weather. So we just don't get that deep freeze like we used to. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. No, I just want to say that whenever we made these decisions to move to these type of facilities, these multi-purpose facilities, we knew that some of the other smaller ice surfaces that Councilor McTart's talking about would close. Having said that, I do think that we could probably have a look at some of those areas because some of the ones you're talking about are probably not real close to one of these yet. It's something that could probably be talked about. We'll see how the weather goes and once they get these up and running. We're not talking about a lot. So if it was 1 or 2, then that could be added to the schedule, then so be it.
So through the chair, maybe what we could request is a list of those snow-based ones where they were generally situated throughout the city, and then maybe we can have a discussion around geographically, is somebody missing out on something? And there might be an opportunity for 1 or 2 of those to remain, depending on geographically where they wouldn't have close enough access, whether to walk or.
It's worth discussion, then we
Yeah,
get some
worth the
input from the
discussion
manager
anyway.
and just
Instead of
see what he
taking it
has to
off the
say.
table,
Yeah.
Chair Twill and Councillor Bernard and Matard. So I do have those ones that were on the list last year that we could consider. And like you said, I think we'd have to look at it. We want to focus on the other ones first, and I understand you guys agree with that as well. If the weather changes, we could look at it, but having said that, once we start doing other ones, it is going to impact the ability to maintain the other ones. Those other locations, we had went to a rink in every ward. So the other locations that don't have wards that don't have a rink would be Ward 4, which would be Olabar Park, which would be the rink that we'd propose. Ward 2, which was J. Frank Macaulay Park. Then Ward 3, which would be Spring Park, and then Ward 5, which would be Rosemount. So those are smaller snow-based rinks. Those would be the ones we'd be considering, and like you said, weather permitting and everything, if we had the capacity to do it. But we'd like to first, I think, see how we get along with these 6 we have on the go, and if all of a sudden things come great and we can attempt to do one other rink to, spread them around more throughout the city, we will look at that and consult with the committee on.
Perfect. Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. One of the 2 things, I'm a strong proponent of constructing more of these facilities with the boards throughout the city of Charlottetown. Thinking in terms of fairness geographically, so that all residents have access to the same, the same infrastructure. So I am a strong proponent of that, and I'll continue to be a strong proponent of that because I see the merits of these facilities. It's not just during the winter months; we're able to use them all year round. They're multi-purpose facilities, and I think it's a great investment for the community. The other issue with the Founders Hall, that particular venue, one of the issues that has come up besides the chiller and the size of the facility and the noise from it. One of the things that I've been asked is about the city creating an oval somewhere in the city of Charlottetown, an oval. We did have an oval at one time here in the city, down at the Memorial Field, and that oval was eliminated when the city of Charlottetown had to agree with the Canada Games, the Summer Canada Games, in creating the new ball diamond. in Victoria Park. So the oval and running track was eliminated. So that's something I'd like to see staff explore. Could we, somewhere in the city, could we create an oval, outdoor oval, where, you get a chance to skate much longer in a circumference as opposed to what we see down at Founder's Hall. That's not to say that we would eliminate that, but the oval in Halifax is very popular. And some residents would like to see us try to emulate that if there's a possibility. So maybe we can explore those options. And I'll ask staff to examine what locations might be able to provide that type of a venue. I know there's a lot of interest in an oval, and it's also good for speed skating as well. So I will ask staff, if you could look into that and bring back some options to the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Twill. Yes, and we will look into that. I'd just like to also just remind the public that they can view the outdoor rink schedule. It's updated daily during the week, so you can view the current conditions and which outdoor rinks and where they're located. So you can go on the city's website to obtain that information. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. I want to thank the staff. I think it's important. I want to thank the staff. They're out there flooding these rinks. They're up at 4 o'clock in the morning. A lot of work goes into it. It's cold, and it's as you would say, Frank, it's labor intensive. So I do want to personally thank the staff for all the work that they're doing. They do a tremendous job. So I think maybe we need to and should recognize the importance of the good work that our staff are doing. They do a tremendous job. So please convey that back to the staff, Frank. Okay. I guess our next item is review of the 24-25 Parks and Recreation Draft Capital Budget. Now, do we do that in an open forum? Is that?
Yes, we do, Your
Okay, no, I
Chair
know
Twill,
at
yeah.
one time it was done in a closed session, but now it's done in an open forum, correct?
Correct, correct.
Okay, no, that's fine. So, did you have a question, Terry? Okay. Okay, Frank. Can you put this online too?
It is, you didn't take your laptop, did you? Okay,
Sorry?
It's
It's
on
on
your
the laptop, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But while we're waiting, I'll have a question for Frank if I could, just before you get into the capital budget. It has something to do with the capital budget. Frank, I'm just wondering, I know that it was talked about briefly before Canada Games. There was a possibility of putting squash courts in the new Simmons rink we're building. Is that still possible? If we were able to get the courts? I know Stratford apparently has 4 courts they're not using, they got from Canada Games. If we wanted to put that in Simmons, can it happen?
I'd have to find out more information about it. I assume they're portable courts, are they, or what are they? Yeah, so we'd have to see what uses are going to be occurring in Simmons once it opens. It'd be seasonal, of course, because you couldn't put them in there.
Yeah, I know
when
we
it's-
talked about it before. Anyway, it went to Stratford, I'm just wondering, I don't think the building footprint changed any, so it's still a possibility that we could put the squash courts in there, is it? Or is it definitely?
Well, it's a possibility. What I would suggest is to send the necessary information on to Mike, and we'll assess. But yeah, I know there's going to be other requests for other uses in that facility as well. Right now, we've got quite a list of activities that we're looking at using that facility year-round, so.
Yeah, I'm just, you know what, the city of Charlottetown's getting so far behind in so many sport facilities that I just thought it was an opportunity. We know there's 4 courts sitting over in Stratford they're not using, probably won't be using for a number of years. If there's an opportunity for us to get them in a facility that could be used. I'm just suggesting Simmons, there may be another one you guys can come up with. But if you guys want to put your thinking caps on, see if there's a place that could work, appreciate that.
Councilor Bernard, are you talking the new rink?
Wherever they suggest. There was talk at one time when we were designing the new rink that it's a possibility that could they go in there.
Yeah.
So if
I
that's
know.
still possible, or if they have another location they can
Yeah.
suggest.
No, it's a good point. It's a good point. I know there's, like Frank said, there's other sports. For example, there's lacrosse. That's another one. But no, it's unfortunate when you look at the Canada Winter Games. Squash was played. Correct me if I'm wrong. Squash was played at the. Yeah, in the arena part of the facility. I guess it went over well, from what I understand. It's I don't know why. I don't know why we can't utilize that facility. I mean, that facility's not always that busy. I don't know why we can't explore that.
Yeah, I think that's what we asked them to do. The arena side, my understanding is it is used quite a bit, but I mean, there may be room, but I think between Mike and the manager there, they can probably make some recommendations.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Frank, if you don't mind, please, could you walk us through your proposed budget for this year? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chair Twill. And it is a fairly large document, and there's a lot of projects on the list, so I'll do my best to capture everything. I tried to fit it on one Excel spreadsheet with 2 pages. So anyway, we'll go through each line, because I think that's the easiest way. I did group them this year to make it a little easier to know which projects sort of fall in different sections. So for example, the first 3 fall under arenas, and then we'll go from there. So you'll see the first project on the list is the existing Simmons Arena, and we're just recommending to put $20,000 in there in case something happens that we have to do a repair. We hope not, but just if needed. There'll be no, and you'll see here as it goes across, it's also showing the budgets for future as well. We put numbers in there, proposed as well. I won't necessarily focus on that. We'll just focus on the current budget we're proposing, but you'll see that we do have them on a 4-year budget for the future as well. Just high-level estimate. So we'll, next one you'll see there on the list is the Cody Banks Arena capital repairs. So we're proposing to budget, we're carrying over $50,000 from last year we didn't spend, but we are proposing to budget another $50,000 and to make it $100,000. That is about, we normally budget around $100,000 for that facility. It is an aging infrastructure and it is regularly requiring upgrades. And then you'll see in the future there, we're putting additional capital dollars with inflation and whatnot. And as the facility gets older, it will need more upgrades until it is, ultimately replaced or whatnot. The next project on the list is the Simmons Sports Center replacement. So you'll see there's a large carryover. That is a projection right now. That's based on all the POs we've awarded and the work left to be done. That number might change. If anything, it would go down. And then you'll see what I'm proposing for the new budget here for this year. Now, part of this money, a large portion of this money, is to cover the TP6 that was awarded in June of 2023. I think that was about $4.7 million. And then the few other incidentals. And this will cover this additional $6 million will cover any change orders that might occur, the conditioning of the new building, the electrical, ice resurfacer, the scoreboard, and the signage package. So that's what the additional funds are. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to stop me as I go through.
Electrical ice resurfacer. You're talking about a Zamboni there that's run by electricity as opposed to propane?
Correct. Yeah, that's the new type of more environmentally friendly.
Good, yeah, good, thanks.
All right, so the next we'll move on to park development and playgrounds. So you'll see our first one there is our playground equipment and development. This is all our playground installs and whatnot. So this is a fairly large list. We are proposing to carry over a large sum of money. And part of this is with regards to the installs. We weren't able to get the installs done last year due to a number of reasons, staffing shortages, just the sheer volume of scope of work and availability of contractors. But what we are suggesting is that we are going to put a focus this year to install all the equipment we have in storage, which is from 2021, 2022, and 2023. So we're going to install all the remaining infrastructures, which ends up being 6 swing sets. And I do have a list of the parks if you're interested, but the swing sets are at Skyview, Westcombe, Llewellyn, Marysville, Gamewell, and the East Royalty Park, which is the old lagoon site. And then we would have 7 independent or medium structures that would go in at West Royalty Community Center, Bridle Path, the East Royalty Park, which includes a couple structures there, and then the Westcombe Park, and then Evergreen Park, which was a new structure we ordered last year. So that would be installing all those, making park entrance improvements and infrastructure as needed in some of these areas, and doing grading and landscaping where necessary. Of actually 2 parks we're looking at doing the grading and landscaping of. And so those 2 grading and landscaping, we're looking at doing Montgomery Heights and Meadow Park. And then we're looking at park concept plans for Montgomery Heights, the Tower Roads property, and Horseshoe Hills. So we're getting a lot of new parkland, but haven't done any concepts yet, and we want to get those moving forward. And as you can appreciate how development has taken place in the city, Montgomery Heights was supposed to take 10 to 15 years to develop, and it's pretty well all developed now within less than 5 years. So we want to focus on that. And then what we will be focused on as well, we're looking at purchasing 3 new pieces of equipment that won't be put in this year, but we'll get them purchased. And that would be for River Ridge. We're looking at, River Ridge, we're looking at picnic shelter and pathway. Montgomery Heights, we're looking at purchasing a medium structure and a swing. And then Stockman is a park we're looking at, needs an updating kind of thing. So we're looking at purchasing a new medium structure for that park. So those are the areas we're looking at covering under that playground equipment and park development. All right, any questions on that one? We're all good? So the next one, we're the park's open space master plan. So we're looking at carrying over the $100,000 we had budgeted in there from last year. We are currently working on an RFP, which we hope to have out by March 2024. And we will get that underway in the spring and summer. And so that's the last plan that was done was 2007. And as the city has grown so much, we need an updated plan to help guide us into the next 10, 15 years. The next project underneath that category is the East Royalty Lagoon Park Development. So this is a property that we obtained from the Water and Sewer Department. We were hoping to do some development last year, but the ground was still settling quite a bit, and we didn't feel comfortable doing any development until the land had more or less subsided in the settling. So we're carrying over the $147,000 we have budgeted there, and this will install the playground equipment and construct pathways. So that's what we're looking to do with that money, and anything else that, there's some other ideas in that plan, park concept plan, that we'd look at doing as well. One of them was an actual pump bike. Is that right? Pump track, sorry. Pump track.
So that's what I'm wondering, Frank. Do you have enough money for that? You install the playground equipment, you're going to construct pathways, and you're going to build a pump track with $147,000?
We're not sure about the pump track yet. We'd be able to use some of the fill that would come out of the actual, where we dig up the playground. Some of that can be utilized there. We're trying to be realistic on what we can actually do. But
Yeah, and I want to be realistic in the dollar amount. 'Cause what things cost today, I'm wondering, do you think you have enough?
we'll be working forward. It's what we can develop, but we'd be starting it kind of thing. So we have some money in the other, and I have to confirm whether the playground equipment, there's some of the playground equipment's in the other.
I'm trusting you, Frank.
It's
trusting you, buddy.
not necessarily going to do us all. We don't exactly know until we actually start working at the site and see how
No,
much.
I know. That's why I'm wondering, do you
So-
think you have enough?
So once we start removing some of that fill to actually say put in the playground structure, put in the pathways, we're not planning on, we're going to keep that on site. So that will save us money right there. So we won't know until, will we need other stuff? But we'll look at that as we get, moving down the road and see how much fill is there and how much additional fill we might need.
But you're just talking the pump track, are you? That's where you're going to save additional money is from fill for the pump track?
We hope to be able to, yes, we hope to be able to save some money because we'll be taking some of the fill from the site and use that to develop the pump track.
Okay, and I'm more concerned about the pathways that we were going to put through that 4.5 acre site.
Yeah, so we're looking at proposing the pathways right now that will connect us to infrastructure, so it won't necessarily be all the pathways. This is going to be, take multiple years, or not multiple years, but a number of years to fully develop that site. But we're starting that, we connect the pathways from the Bonnie Blink end and from the Robertson Road end, connect to the playground, then do a connection pathway back to the Wrights Creek.
But we were going to do a circular track around that area.
There will be eventually, yeah, that will be. So it won't be all of them, because we don't want to start putting in all the pathways until we have the other infrastructure located. So for example, the pump track, where that's going. So we're going to be putting the pathways in as we build the infrastructure. We'll be putting the pathways in to connect that infrastructure. So until we start sort of down the road here and figuring out, where's all the infrastructure going to go into the playground, like the pump track. Are we going to go behind the pump track with the walking track, or are we going to go in
But
front of it?
we have a plan that we went out and got done. We have a concept plan.
We have the
know where
concept
everything's going.
plan, yeah. We have the concept
We know
plan.
where everything's going, so we just need to get a price to put everything in.
We are, but we're wanting to be realistic as well. We can't do everything at once, so.
No, I realize that.
Yeah, so that's where.
But I don't want to go to snail's pace either and just, put in a piece of equipment this year and put in something next year. We're going to do a 20-year project.
No, so I think right here now, Councilor Bernard, so right now we're looking at, under that, we're looking at installing a swing set, moving a medium structure from Bonnie Blink and an independent structure from Bonnie Blink and reinstalling those in that area.
So the equipment you're moving in, though, is coming from Bonnie Blink.
Bonnie Blink, so it's going to be moved over there to make it more, and it's relatively new equipment. We're also have a medium structure we're going to be installing, so that will pretty near fully get that parked with all its playground equipment. And then we would be, putting the pathways in place, and then looking at the pump track and as we,
Okay, so when you say putting pathways in place, what are you talking about?
we're going to confirm which pathways we can put in right now. And it's one of those things, we want to put the actual playground structure in place because heavy equipment's going to be coming in, so we don't want to put the pathway in until after that.
No, I can see that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's sort of a process, and park staff will be working on that list of sort of where we start and
Okay, so you think that's enough for starting out the 147? You know,
I feel this year getting us back on track and now that the site's settled.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so sorry I lost my spot on my list here. So the next one would be the Roundhouse Park. This project's been on the list for a couple years as well and sort of has taken different routes as we were working with Canada Games initially, and now we're sort of working on our own with CADC and other potential partners. There is $314,000 and $465 in the budget, and we're proposing to carry that over. Right now, we have an updated concept, the updated plan for the actual site, and what we were planning on doing is that we want to bring the updated design and the updated estimate of probable cost to council, and then decide, and council can decide if they want to proceed with this project at this current scope, or if we want to look at another scope for the site. The project has, it has sort of grown, and it's sort of what they're proposing, and it is, it's a large project for the footprint of property we have, and we want to make sure everyone's on side. And I know with some of the challenges we've had with regards to our concerns around the chiller unit being down at Founders Hall and whatnot, and it is, the estimate of probable cause is substantially higher than what was initially estimated.
Thank you, Frank. I must jump in here. I'm not so sure there's an appetite for a structure of this magnitude for this footprint. People were pleased when we purchased the property. They would like to see it maintain a green space. It's really not that big of a property, so I just don't think I don't anticipate the support from the community to have, a structure like that. People want to maintain that green space. They enjoy the green space. Unless you have another venue, I don't see why we should even proceed with this and entertain it any longer. That's just my perspective and just some of the feeling I have from the community. They like the fact that it's a green space and want to keep it that way. And I don't know if we need to put any type of structure there. Like I said, I'll reiterate, people were pleased when we invested. The city purchased that property and they want to keep it natural. So, and you even said in your own words that this particular structure is much bigger than what the footprint would allow for. So, unless you have another venue, I would say we put it on hold.
So Chair Twill, so what I'm saying is that I'll bring this updated design to council and let them decide, because ultimately it's council that directed us to sort of go and do a design for this. So I'll bring it there with the updated estimate of cost so that we can make an informed decision. And if council decides, they don't want to proceed with that type of project, but maybe there's something else. Maybe they do want to develop something on this site that keeps it green, that reflects the Roundhouse Park idea, because it was the old turntable. And it could just be, like you said, it could just be putting a pathway around, it could be putting in benches, it could be putting in something else. But just so that since council did direct us to actually do this Roundhouse Park design, and we have it updated now with an estimate of probable cost, we want to bring it back to council so they can be informed and they can make the decision on yes, no, maybe, whether they want us to proceed or not.
Well, go ahead.
Right, thank you. The concept design that I had seen, and I had been talked about this for the last couple of years, I didn't think it was a real big footprint. I thought it was well liked. It looked like it was going to be, again, it was an artificial ice surface that people would enjoy with benches and so on all built in. I didn't think it was going to be a bigger footprint than it's there now. But anyway, I was also under the impression that a lot of people in the area had been spoken to and that they were in favor of it. But this would still go to a public meeting, would it not? And we would get the public's reaction for sure. The plan itself in the Roundhouse Park, the idea came from, that's where the trains used to come in and get on the Roundhouse, turn around, head the other way. So there was a lot of support from the different downtown associations, businesses, Harbour Authority, so on. I don't know if that's still there.
Yeah,
We've been talking about
I'm
this
not
for a couple of
talking,
years.
sorry to interrupt, I'm not talking so much, downtown business, port authorities, I'm talking about the community. I mean,
Yeah,
lots of times we have, these particular agencies that, oh yeah, we want this, we want that, but I'm talking the broader community that just enjoys the green space.
And
I've gotten pushback from some folks that said, when the city purchased the property, we made a commitment to keep it green space, and they're more than satisfied with that. They really are.
I think for me, Mr., what I would like to see is that the proposal goes public and then hear their views, because the public, I don't think the public has seen it yet. And I think it's worth a view and to get their feedback then. And like I say, we hit a number of people that were partner funding in this. I don't know if they're still there or not, frankly, I have a better idea, but it was a nice concept design, and I think from what I understood, it was well received. So I would think as opposed to killing it, I think you'd want to move along, see what the public is.
I don't want, okay, I'll leave it at this. I don't want the green space compromised in any which way, shape, or form. Councilor Matard.
Thank you, Chair. I think this might have been before my time, so I'm not quite familiar with this concept design. So I think it would be beneficial for those in council who haven't had the opportunity to at least look at it, weigh in on it, and then the decision can be made based on the factors that you're indicating.
So that was, sorry, Councilor Matart, that is correct, that this was over 2 terms of council, so that's part of the reason why I want to re-bring this back. There has been updates and modifications done to it. to the design, and things have sort of changed once you realize what is needed to, operate an artificial rink system and what kind of amenities you need and whatnot. So it'll be brought to council. Then if council decides they want to bring that to the public as well, then, that would be, that could happen as well. So anyway, just wanted to let you know that we don't want to move forward with it until we bring it back to council and to whoever else it needs to go to. So then we move down here, just a couple other ones. Another carryover is the development of a dog park. We still have that on our agenda. We're trying to find that perfect location, so we're recommending we're going to carry that $20,000 over. Then the next one on the list here is the install of eWatch cameras. We're proposing that we'd install this at 3 of our park locations where we're having issues with vandalism and whatnot. The 3 parks. The list is, we're still working on that, but we have right now currently, we have 3 or 4 parks in mind, but we have a couple ones that we have real issues with vandalism, and we feel like this would help with, sort of preventing that. I'm a use example. We have one down at Victoria Park at the Ballfield Clubhouse, and we had vandalism there recently. We were able to look at the cameras and find out who did it, and we're able to charge them. So it's a preventative measure. So we are looking at those, and it would be something we would look at doing a couple every year. With regards to the totals here, you'll see in the column there where it goes the total budget, the number didn't move over, so it's going to affect the bottom total a little bit, so that 30,000 should have been moved over into the total budget for the eWatch camera. There were ones they added afterwards, and the formula didn't move with it. Next, we move on to the Victoria Park shoreline, and this is a carryover. This project, we're looking at posting a tender very soon. I'm being optimistic when I say January. It might not be January, but it's going to be very close. And then hopefully award this winter, and then get the work started, as soon as possible, whenever it makes sense. And that's totally funded by the CCBF fund. Next, we have the Victoria Park plan. There's always projects in Victoria Park, and this whole category here, these next projects all relate to Victoria Park. We would be carrying over money, and this is 197,917 carryover, and then new additional funding of 97,83 for a total of 295. And this money would be utilized to update the Victoria maintenance shed. There's some renovations required there. The building is getting pretty tired, and it is our main building in Victoria Park for maintenance. We're also looking at doing cannon lookout replacement. And the overflow parking area, we need to come up with some type of plan to deal with the drainage of this area, and we'd work at doing the drainage plan, cost estimate, and then start construction to do the work in that location. And anyone that drops down to Victoria Park, after major rain will know that area is pretty not very accessible. We're trying to do it in a way that's environmentally, that doesn't look like, we don't want to pave it. So we're trying to make it look more aesthetically pleasing. Then we have the Victoria Park tennis courts. We are asking to carry over the $400,000. We just ran into some issues this year with trying to get that moving forward. And then we're asking to budget another $100,000 for a total of $500,000. We still are going to be trying to get partnership funding from the National Bank. It's pending right now. We've been dealing with them. But this money will be used to completely reconstruct the 5 courts, resurface the courts. Right now, that's courts 4 to 8, so that's 5 courts. And we're in the process of engaging the engineering professional services to complete an assessment of the courts, complete the design, the tender documents, and we anticipate going out late March, award in April, and construction would start in May. We see this as a priority. These courts are, the asphalt is failing, and it's dried up and they're cracking, and there are trip hazards and whatnot. And as every winter more freeze and thaws happen, the courts are moving more and more. So this will be we'll also do an assessment of the base to make sure we have good base material before we put down the new asphalt, and make sure there's sufficient drainage under them as well.
Where did you, where, National Bank pending for funding? Where'd that come from?
It was one we had made last year, application to last year, and we didn't hear from it, and Krista has been working back and forth with them to see, are we eligible? And we're trying to confirm that. It's potentially, they have some funds that they can use to actually help cover the cost of the resurfacing costs. Yeah, so part of it is too, what's challenged there, Christopher's told me that they needed more details, so we pretty well have to do the design, have all the design done on what's required for the whole project before they will commit to potentially funding some of that.
Okay, I didn't know they had a fund for that, stuff like that. What is it, sport fund, the National Bank puts in?
They're a major sponsor of tennis
Oh,
in Canada,
okay.
so
Okay, that makes sense.
so it was something that we had been made aware of through Tennis PEI to apply for this funding, that they do projects all across Canada.
Nice.
So it was something that we were asked to apply to, but they need more details on information of the actual project and what the project will entail before they provide confirmation of funding.
Nice, thanks.
All right, and then the next one is just a wrap-up of the Victoria Park reforestation. So we just, small amount, $9,286 carrying over there, and it's an estimate based on what's committed in the PO. What that includes is some monitoring of all the work they did in the park and a few other meetings and whatnot. Then we have the sport field development and upgrades. And underneath there, we have the our basic sport field upgrades that we try to do annually to a number of fields. We are carrying over $20,000 is left in the account. We're requesting to budget 180, and for a total budget of 200. What this money is going to be used this year is the central field upgrades. We've in the process of installing the new lights, and they're getting near completion. Once those are installed, we're going to have to, we actually set them back further, so we're going to be actually expanding the outfield to allow the field to be able to, other user groups to use it, adult user groups that is, and it'll also meet the standards for tournaments, higher level tournaments. Central 1, so it's next to Charlottetown Rural. Yeah, so it'll be similar size to Central 2. So what this will include is relocating the fence, installing drainage, grading and landscaping, reinstate the warning track, relocate the scoreboard, address the third base dugout drainage, and purchase and install a batting cage. So we'll make this into a really good quality ball field complex. And then we also have an additional $40,000 to $50,000 in there to complete upgrades to other sport fields that required. After winter, you never know which fields might need a major overhaul, so. And those are, those to address more capital issues versus, you know, your regular maintenance. And then I have here, we had money in there last year for the sport field complex development, and we had $500,000 last year, and I'm recommending that we put an additional $500,000 for a total of $1 million. And this will allow us to, I think, seriously go out and identify 20-plus acres to purchase and purchase that land. And then we can actually complete a design, you know, what would fit in that, that parkland or this new sport field complex land, and, you know, come up with some cost estimates, you know, and do a phased-in approach. We don't have a large parcel of land that we can actually sort of get ahead on these sport field complexes, and includes soccer, rugby, football, cricket, the ball field users. So there's multiple sport field users that we just need a large parcel of land. And then the other one here, Central 1 light, ball field light replacement. I have 97,000 there right now, but that will probably be reduced. I just need to confirm on sort of how the project is moving along. They've been running into some challenges there just with how wet a spring or wet a fall it's been. And so to see that that number could be reduced dramatically, I just need to make sure I have sufficient money in there to cover work that has not been completed. And then we move on to sport facilities and buildings. The first line there you'll see is the multi-sport outdoor facilities. We're doing a carryover for the Mulberry one, just a small one to address landscaping. And there might be a bit more there. The painting didn't get done on the surface, so I might have to increase that number by 5,000. Then proposing a new budget of 1.8, and for a total, 1.8 million, for a total of 1.805. So this is to complete the landscaping and the painting at Mulberry Outdoor Rink, and to upgrade the Gordy Griffin multi-sport facility with a permanent artificial ice system, and to replace the Elmer McFadgen multi-sport facility and install a permanent artificial ice system. This number, we're figuring if you did that at one of these facilities, it would be in the range of, like for the example, to upgrade the Gordy Griffin one, would be around 700,000. That's to purchase the chiller unit, do the electrical hookup, purchase the actual piping system, and put it in actually permanent concrete, so that when it comes to December, when the weather is cold enough, we can just flick the switch, the surface cools down, and we can start flooding right away, and it will increase when the rinks will be open. Right now, the Founders Hall rink took a substantial amount of manpower, from mid-December till early January to just get in place, and then you're still, the weather still impacts it with regards to not sufficient frost in the ground and those kind of things. And then the Elmer McFadgen one is an older facility that needs to be overhauled, and we feel if we're going to overhaul it, we would upgrade it with the new boards, and also we'd upgrade the whole facility. So which is about 1.1 million we figured that would cost. Anyways, any questions on that? And I figured there could be, so.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just two questions. First question is, I guess, why would we not have installed a permanent artificial ice system in Mulberry? Would have seemed logical considering a net new construction. And then how are we determining, that Gordy Griffin multi-sport facility is the one to be addressed at this point? Well, I think we have, so obviously Elmer McFadgen would be addressed during a replacement of that, correct? With a permanent artificial ice system?
Correct, Councillor
So
Matartang.
I guess when does Mulberry get caught up on and would that now be extra effort and time and money when we should have laid that down at the start?
No. Sorry.
Well, it's to the manager, I guess, or to the chair, to the manager. Or you can decide
Sorry,
who
Councillor
answers.
Matart. So it's not going to cost us extra, or it's going to cost us extra, sorry. But at the time, we didn't know what the sort of a permanent artificial unit would look like in a surface. So if we decided to upgrade Mulberry, we could. We would put the piping system on the surface and place it in there, that it would run through concrete, would go over top of it, and then you'd hook up the chiller unit and whatnot. So what we have there is a good base, and same with the Gordy Griffin and the West Royalty one. But if we wanted to upgrade them to allow us that they are a facility that can be more easily, made artificial ice surface, or made, to make ice for us more efficiently and whatnot. And we're just finding weather has changed. Now, we don't necessarily have to go with both. I put Gordy Griffin there because of Councillor Bernard indicating there could be potentially some partnership funding from somebody, an organization. So I wanted to sort of have that on the list. I put Elmer McFadgen because it was on the list last year, but ended up being removed for us to build one in Mulberry. And it's our older facility that needs an upgrade.
Yeah.
We're just saying to start this, we might start it smaller. We might not have to do as many as we have on the list, and it could be, we might be able to repurpose depending on what happens down at Founders Hall. Maybe that chiller unit, maybe we don't put the outdoor rink there and the chiller unit could be repurposed at another facility. There still will be additional costs associated with the actual piping system, and then also, doing your phase 3 electrical and hooking up that, so. There you go.
It just seems like probably something we should have considered with Mulberry while we were under construction, and it would have been all-encompassing and ready to go. So maybe in hindsight, would have been something we looked at.
and Councillor Matard, I agree, maybe looking back at it, we could have looked at it. I think we were, until we, figured out the sheer cost, and I thought we felt the other ones were going in the right direction, and it's just been, since we got the artificial one, was last winter was the first time we had it up and going. We weren't even sure how that was going to work for us, but it does seem to be working well. So, like you said, in hindsight, I think we probably would have looked at it and brought forward a larger number, but we're trying to sort of catch up from that now.
Councilor Bernard?
Thank you. No, the only thing I want to add is this was talked about before Mulberry got built. Especially after what we went through last year with none of the rinks being able to get up and running for any amount of time. And I know Gordy Griffin was never officially opened all last winter. Well, I've been asking for the artificial ice surface. It was brought up before we built this one, but guess what? Didn't want to. So now we're back to where we have an opportunity. We're going to have to go this way sooner or later. I mean, staff's been telling us now. So if we're going to build $300,000, $400,000 facilities, and we're not going to be able to use them for much of the winter, we might as well be looking at artificial ice surfaces. Why Gordy Griffin? Well, Gordy Griffin was the first facility that we built like this. Now, having said that, the one in East Rawley was built back in East Rawley the day before they amalgamated with the city. So I agree that facility has to be fixed up, and I think by the looks of the dollar here, you're starting from scratch, are you, Frank? Yeah, so.
Correct.
But just to give a little history, I don't think it was, well, it was hindsight, we missed it. It was talked about. It was decided they didn't want to go that route. But now we're starting to see that it makes sense to do that. Once you get these rinks up and going, they have that artificial infrastructure. We have a thaw, not a big deal. When the one at Founders Hall got installed, when the Canada Games started, first day, it was plus 10 degrees, rain. They were skating on it that night. So there was no rebuilding it, trying to get a base going, spending another week and a half to try and get it going. That's the difference that it makes. So, thank you.
And just to Councillor Bernard's comments here too, yeah, like I said, I think it's a sheer cost. We weren't sure what it was going to cost and what was involved with it, and we wanted to sort of see how the portable one worked out. Now that we see the permanent artificial systems in place, and we've been, looked at other venues, there is some real, pluses to it. It allows that it's easier to turn on and, have staff start flooding it right away. You don't have to spend 2 weeks, 3 weeks to put down a portable system. So we're suggesting we would like to, if council supports that, to start building some more permanent artificial type units or facilities that can operate for a longer period of time during the winter months.
As you can see, this year, this proposed budget, we're not constructing any newer multi-purpose facilities. From my perspective, that's disappointing. Yeah, but that's just a replacement, Councilor Bernard. That's a replacement at that site. So, that's all well and good. But we have other parts of the city. I think we're doing a great job in the suburbs, but, when you come into the high-density areas, or extremely high density, we don't have these facilities. So I'm proposing, with the committee's support, I'm proposing that we add $800,000, maybe $900,000 to construct 2 more. And then staff can look at some locations along with collaborating with the committee there's, I know Councilor Matart was interested. There's other areas of the city, like I say, in the heart of the city where we don't have these facilities, and I'd like to be as progressive and as productive as we possibly can. So with the support of the committee, I'd like to add at least another $900,000 to construct at least 2 more, and then go from there. So I can.
To the chair, I think, you know, if you look at between West Royalty and Founders Hall, there's nothing in between there roughly. So I think at the very least, identifying one other potential
fine.
location within, within the core of Charlottetown and generally in your area and three and four, somewhere around there. I was kind of think somewhere up around this area. I mean, obviously space is important, but I think that it's important to kind of have some geographical representation of these rings. How many? I don't know, but, at very least.
Thank you, Councilor Matart. Would you like to move a motion to that effect? Do you need a motion, Frank? Or just,
Well, it's just a suggestion, so we have a majority of consensus here, if they
Yeah.
want me to add in additional dollars, and, 2 versus 1, and the type of facility we're building here, we're recommending that we would actually build the multi-sport facility with the actual permanent artificial ice system in it now. You have to have the necessary amenities around it too, so, potentially access to Phase 3 electrical, possible clubhouse, those kind of things. So we'll have to find a location that would work if we were going to go down that route. But it probably does, to build that type of facility at the same size the other ones, now we could go smaller, we anticipate it's around 1.1 million.
well, put that in there. Put that in there. I'm looking at least two more. Two more. I'd like to put the dollar figures in there that will be able to fund at least two more. And as Councilor Matart said, have that geographical representation, like I say, in the heart of the city. If you go right across the board, there's nothing there. So I think these are great facilities, they're great for our communities. I'm a strong proponent, but I want to continue on with making sure that they're spread out across the city. They're good investments, and I know that there's a lot of uses. These are multi-purpose facilities, and they're a great asset. So thank
So-
you.
So what I'm going to recommend is potentially we put 1, because he said the sheer cost of it, but also the capacity to build them as well. We don't want to, this will be our first time building a permanent artificial outdoor rink system. Like if we replaced the one at McRae, which we're planning on, Elmer McFadgen, and then if we had another one in, and then if we did upgrades to the Gordy Griffin one, then that'll make 3. And we'll see how those facilities work. And, whether we want to add it to more. That's sort of the reason why we were suggesting Elmer McFadgen this year, to get it up and done and see how this new facility works with the permanent infrastructure in it before we sort of went and built other ones. As you'll see in my future budget, I did put down additional dollars for future, upgrades to facilities. But if the committee would like for us to look at another one, we can put another one on the list this year.
So,
It's a new location, like outside of the other wards, like outside of to make sure they're more spaced over the city, as Councillor Matart alluded to.
yeah, because I want to see them spread out evenly across the city. Because we have, like I said, the high-density areas of the city, there's no representation. And I know some people have been asking, they like what's happening out in the periphery of the city or in the suburbs. They think it's great, but we'd like to see that in their own respective communities. So let's work towards that aim. So you put in that dollar figure.
I think for me, I believe, is it 6 we have now, counting Founders Hall and counting Winslow, or 5?
We have 6 right now, counting Founders Hall, and Founders Hall could be one that we could actually be, moving to another location in the downtown area. We don't know yet. That one's still under review, where that's going to be going, so.
So I guess for me, we have 6 down. I kind of like to, 1, kind of do a needs assessment. 2, see what locations are left that can be recommended. 3, when we did these, we said we were going to be doing them near amenities, that you had parking, you had washrooms. So that was the idea, of spending that kind of money on these multipurpose facilities. Not against building more, but I do think that what Frank's saying makes perfect sense, to fix up the ones they have now and make sure they're working right before you move on. That would make sense to me. So
I know.
I would do, for me, I would go with the recommendation the manager's making. So,
Councilor Mattar?
I mean, I think there's no harm in budgeting for a potential new one.
Yeah,
At
let's,
least one at the very least.
yeah, I mean,
Whether or not we get there,
I prefer 2 more.
If we get there, great. If we have to carry over to next year, at least it's budget that we
Well,
have allocated for.
let's,
And then do the
What?
assessments that,
I'm not sure what we're at.
Frank, 19.1 million?
The city-funded share, it's actually slightly higher than that.
130.
Okay, so, anyway, add another one with the idea that maybe we can do two. I don't know. I definitely want to pursue that.
To me, I can't agree with it. I'm agreeing with the manager's suggestion. I do think more can be, but I think what he's saying makes
But-
perfect sense to me, and I think.
Well, anyway, Councilor Matart, you agree with at least one more?
I'd like to see at least one more, earmarked. For a
This year.
potential,
Yeah.
budget, whether it gets done this year based on other factors and locations and assessment to where it might be and might not work and the infrastructure required. I think we need to do that as well.
Put it in for.
Yeah, put it in the budget.
Put it in for the following year, or the lineup for the following year.
No, let's put it in this year. Anyway,
Something's gonna have to come out, guys. You're way up there, budget.
so,
Okay, so I will add it in, but like
Add
you
it
said,
in.
we might have to do some reductions later on, so just keep that in mind, because we do have a fairly large capital budget.
yeah, I know.
Anyway, we'll just
We've
keep
got to
moving.
make progress. And we are making progress, but we've got to carve out some new territory.
Yeah, and we just want to we need to have the capacity within
Yeah,
our department
I
to do it as
understand that,
well,
Frank,
so-
but we got to
so
get into
just-
the high-density areas too.
Yeah, no, I agree, and there's other unknowns in some of these high-density areas
I know.
as well, so
I know.
we're trying to make the best informed decision
know,
that we
I
can.
know.
Anyway, I know that we're sort of running out of time here, so I'll keep going as quickly as possible. Then we come here, next thing is buildings and clubhouses, pretty straightforward, updating Central Fuel, Mulberry, and clubhouses, and the East Royal Lagoon building. We're turning that into a clubhouse in that site, so we're going to do some upgrades to that. Then we're moving down to the pickleball courts. I'm recommending to increase that to 60. I had 50 in there and realized I had put the wrong number. So it'll be increasing that to 60. And just, this is one of the areas where the numbers didn't carry over to the next line, so that bottom line is a little higher. So this is, will be here, we're looking at converting the tennis courts at Jack Bomber Callahan Park into 6 to 8 pickleball courts. And we've done some preliminary meeting with the pickleball group, and the site is a good site for this. Excuse me?
Whereabouts?
Sorry, at the Jack Bomber Callahan, at the Hillsborough Park Community Center, the courts there. And we're looking at
Oh, yeah.
potentially converting 6 to 8 of those courts. I was going to be reaching out to Councillor Bernard on it. We just had some discussions last fall. It seemed like a good location. The tennis court is underutilized there, and the basketball court, it's used, but there's also the other basketball area behind the community center. We feel we could upgrade that. And we also we could do some other work around the multi-sport facility to make it accommodate. Since we built that, there's a lot less use at that basketball court area and tennis court area. So we're looking at the option of upgrading those and making pickleball courts. As we know, they presented here, there's a real need for outdoor courts.
Yeah.
And it's a good location with a good surface. We feel like we can get 6 to 8 courts up there for around 60 grand, which is cheap than if we had to build them from scratch.
Just so I got you right, you're talking about the old tennis courts in behind the community center. Or
Correct.
you're talking about the multipurpose facility.
No, behind the community
You
center.
need
the old-
6 pickleball courts in that?
We can fit up to 8, but we think 6. We went out there and met with pickleball group, measured it out. Christopher and I met with the group. Very keen, looks a good location. We do some upgrading to the fencing, and make sure that it's not going to be because I know pickleball, I guess, can have some noise associated with it, so that it's not too loud for the area. But we felt it was the best location to try to address the shortcoming we have with pickleball, as it is growing extremely fast.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm surprised you can put that many courts in it.
Yeah, the
I
courts are
figured 4.
substantially smaller. We were surprised too when we went out there, so. So that would be that one there. The next one we're looking at is the outdoor basketball court. We've had a request to have an official outdoor basketball court. So we're looking at upgrading the J. Frank McCauley multi-sport court to a full-size basketball court. So it would have the lines, it would have, basketball uprights at either end. Doesn't mean that it couldn't be still used for tennis. Their option still could be there, and it couldn't be used cross court, but this would allow that, they're wanting to get a little basketball tournaments here and whatnot. So it's been a request we received from Basketball PEI. And we're trying to sort of upgrade and repurpose facilities instead of building new. We don't always feel like we need to build new. And then there is the disc golf course. We've had a request in recent years to construct a disc golf course, so we're looking at a suitable location within the city where we would operate a city-operated disc golf course. It's been happening in a lot of maritime municipalities where they've identified locations. We've been struggling to find the necessary land to try to do it as well, but we'll look at other properties where a disc golf course can weave between other facilities as long as it's safe. So we're looking at that to get a disc golf course in place as soon as possible.
How much room do you need for that, Frank?
It depends on whether you go with 9 holes or 18 holes. But a lot of times in other areas, I know I was over in St. John, I was in Riverview and Moncton and Dieppe, and they all have disc golf courses, and they're all different variations in different locations. Over in St. John, it's between sport facilities. They have some wooded land, and they're able to weave it through the property. But it has to be an area where you're not having pedestrians and, not affecting users and other users as well, so in the park.
Did we not have a location for this at one time? Or no?
Right now, we provided some partnership support to the rural to get one out there. But it's on school property and it's not managed by us. We just provide some support. We provided a micro grant to them. But it's in a low area. It's fairly wet at certain times of the year, and it's really not a high quality disc golf course. So.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we do have a small one actually. Christopher just reminded me, we do have a small one at Mulberry. It's in an area that is underutilized, but it's an 18 horse. It's a hybrid course, so they're actually using similar baskets and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's been a growing sport as well. And then the last one on that list here is the beach volleyball court development. We're recommending or asking to budget $200,000. We are working on confirming the location. We'd complete the design and do the tender documents and construction this fall. And there's a parcel of land that has, there's potentially going to be available, and we're wanting to be ready to move forward. It's been in our budget for the last couple of years to look at developing that. And then the next one, Trails and Pathways, we're getting near the end here. This is a carryover. We've already awarded the work for Phase 1, and we're requesting to carry over our budget additional $100,000 so we can award actually the second phase of the work, so that we complete all the actual pathways in the park, so that both phases can complete it in 2024. The pathways are heavily used, and we do keep them clear of snow in the wintertime, so it's been challenging with the conditions of them. And then Hermitage Creek is just carrying over $15,000. This is just to install the dock system that we already have and upgrade just a section of the trail. We ran into an environmental in the last fall. There was the old platform was in the water, and we had additional work to try to get that removed and whatnot. So we didn't get it installed at the end of last year, but we'd get that installed in the spring because we do have that removed now. And then the next couple here, Andrews Pond Trail Development and the Ankeny Trail Development. These are ongoing projects that we are recommending to carry over the money that we have this year for Andrews Pond to continue with the trail development with Wrights Creek Watershed Group. And then the other one, Acadian Drive, which is to continue with Cycling PEI. This year, we were able to charge a lot of the work they did there to the Hurricane Fiona file because there's a lot of damage associated with it. So we didn't actually need to use that budget. And the next one is the East Royalty landfill, the old road restoration and the AT pathway. I'm working with a company right now working on the design. And then tender documents that'll go out in March, and then we get this awarded in April, construction to begin in May. This is one that we've received $225,000 from the province, partnership funding. So that one will be moving forward. And that was one of those ones that was challenges as well this year with Hurricane Fiona, sort of delayed us moving forward because of all the damaged trees and whatnot in the area. And then His Worship mentioned there the Terry Fox Drive to Brighton Road shortcut pathway. We're recommending to budget $80,000. He did indicate there could be some partnership dollars there from the province, so if there is, we'll of course take advantage of that. And the
So we're going to construct that, we're going to pay for it, and that's not on city property, right? That's owned by the province.
It's on provincial land, a large portion of it, and then another portion, the portion sort of up at the end that goes to the mailbox, as I refer to it as, would be on city property. But it's a pathway that we know people use regularly. It is provincial land. We have an actual,
No,
we have a lease, we have an easement agreement or a lease agreement right now with them, and we'd have an easement agreement in place with the province.
But the point that I want to make is that the city's going to construct this walkway, regardless of what it's made of, whether it's a boardwalk or
Boardwalk.
paved or whatever the case may be. But this is owned by the province, and the province has been requested to partner, and they haven't decided to partner with us, considering it's their property. Am I correct on that?
Previously, we'd made requests and we weren't successful, but there appears to be more momentum right now that they are interested in providing funding. And yes, it is on provincial land, but it's sort of used as a shortcut pathway. It's used sort of as a sidewalk of people going
For the
across there.
community, yeah.
For the community, yes.
Yeah. Well, I just hope that when it comes to facilities and property that's owned by the province, that we have consistency when it comes to partnership, right? There has to be consistency, so we're not just cherry picking where we'll construct venues and facilities or improvement and enhancements. I just want to make sure that we are truly consistent. So, anyway, I'll get to that later, Frank. So, I understand the need. I don't disagree with it.
We deal with each request as it comes up to us, presented to us, and we bring it to the committee and council for their consideration. So the last two formal ones under this budget are the water access and beach development. So beach development, we're requesting to bring forward to $100,000, and that would be a $100,000 budget. And this is to confirm the location, identify the scope of work, complete design drawings, and obtain an estimate of cost. There is something in the works right now that, we're just sort of looking at, and is this possible? And we'd like to, if it does happen, that we'd be ready to go. If not, we're going to be looking at other locations so we can, there's been a big push, so, to get access to water, sort of beach development. So this is what these funds would be used for. And then the last one here on the list is Confederation Landing. We've received requests from the Port Authority to assist with the install of the old pier platforms off of Confederation Landing. So this would allow people to actually have access out into the water, that you could walk out onto it, see the water, and be able to have a better viewing point. So it's a partnership. We would actually partner with with the Port Authority to actually make that happen. And because they connect to Confederation Landing, that's the reason why they need to work, or they want to work with the city on this, because they need permission to tie them off to the Confederation Landing. The other projects that are on the list there are all large projects.
Just on that, Frank, so their interest would be in this for what? Is this also used for disembarkment cruise ships?
It wouldn't be. This is just for viewing. So when people, for example, come, they're off of cruise ships or people are visiting the port, they can go to Confederation Landing Park and they can go walk out on these and actually, get a better vantage point, viewpoint from the water. If you look at Google Map, you'll see these old platforms and they were connected at one time. But this would allow that people could go out and, just experience the water. You'll see piers out at, in different cities you go out to. You can walk into a pier and get a better viewing point from of the water. So this is one of these areas. They've approached us, and it seemed like a really interesting idea to allow
Okay,
a type of access to the water.
thanks.
And then the other ones just in the list there are just the larger ones that are bigger projects to keep in mind. Cody Banks Arena replacement eventually. twin an existing arena facility. You know, we're proposing that could happen potentially in the next couple of years. Cody Banks could be in the next 5 years. Artificial turf field, we're proposing that could take place not next year, but the following year in 2025. And then Confederation Landing shoreline protection, it's something we're going to have to take forward, you know, in the next 3 to 4 years. The Confederation Landing is starting to slide into the water a bit. And then we could potentially be asked to provide partnership funding for a multi-sport indoor court facility and a multi-sport indoor field facility. So just wanted to sort of make people aware that those could be future projects.
Okay, thank you. Do you have money set aside for, to do up conceptual plans? Let's say, you know, a project that we want to entertain, whether it's done for this year or next year. Do you have money set aside in your budget to do conceptual design work, just to, if I wanted to take a conceptual design just to an informal neighborhood meeting, do you have money set aside in the budget for that?
We don't per se have money, unless it's been mentioned in the notes there, like ones that we're going to go out and do design on.
And you put some
but-
money aside?
It all depends on what designs you're doing. Like if you're doing it just for a concept design for a park, that's one thing. But if you're doing a design for a facility, you know, it would be cost a lot more. It all depends on,
Again, it's just a concept. It's not anything else but just a concept.
even a concept design can cost anywhere from, you know, $3,000 to $10,000 to $20,000 to
Can we put some money
$30,000.
aside for that?
I guess I'd sort of need to know what type of
Well, I don't
projects
know.
are.
Just want to have it there in case we want to venture into, you know, some ideas that to present to the community. It's not a big expenditure. I just like to have it there. So I think Justin has to go. I think we all have to go. I want to thank everyone for being here today. I want to thank the staff for coming up with this particular budget. There's challenges, and there's going to be more challenges as we move along. The city's growing, and there's pressure. There's no doubt about it. There's pressure for more facilities, outdoor, indoor. It's a challenge, but I think we're on the right path.
Yeah. So Chair Joe, I just want to sort of close it out. So the bottom line number that we're asking, which is updated slightly, the total budget would be $25,971,000 that we're requesting. Partnership funding would be around $6,400,000, and then the bottom line number would be $19,566 million that we're asking for this year. The city funded. It will start, our budget will start to go down a bit in the upcoming years. Also depends on what we're funding, but we have this large project right now. The Simmons replacement is a large project. Eventually we'll have, you know, potentially a twinning a facility, arena facility, or replacing Cody Banks, so that will put our budget up again, but,
Sure.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move for adjournment. Okay. Second? Conclusion of the meeting. Thank you.
Oh,
No, there's some other agenda items there. Are there not?
Well, they're just there for information purposes.
Are they?
the
Justin
meeting
has
still
to
live,
go.
Adele? Okay, the
What?
meeting is still off, so there's just two more items there. It's just those two, let people know they are on the agenda.
Yeah. There for information purposes. Any questions? No? Okay. Thank you.